Well, hello again. Welcome to Public Speaking Now I Can, dealing with those common stumbling blocks that hold us back. I'm Laurie Smale, and I'm a master speaking coach, and I wear those epaulets with pride because I've been helping people for nigh on 4 decades to cast off their fears and communicate with confidence before groups. I'm the author of How to Take the Panic of the Public Speaking. This book is absolute magic, and it's the backbone of these whole 10 webinars. I'm looking forward to sharing with you today. Today, we're going to look at how to deal with those common stumbling blocks that hold us back. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm a member of the Australian Society of Authors, and I've written 3 books, all of them combined to take you from I can't to I can. The first is Finding Me, Finding You, an exciting journey. It deals with insecurity and self-doubt. The next one is How to Be a Conversational Success, whatever the situation. And then we have How to Take the Panic Out of Public Speaking, shows us how to bring this self-worth and this social assuredness up in front of an audience so they feel comfortable in your presence and feel like you're talking to them personally. That's a secret. And that's one of the secrets I'm going to share with you. They can be obtained from your favorite bookstore or online down here. I also have a presence online with my weekly inspirational quotes, my weekly magic minutes, little snippets of life to brighten up your day and get you going. I've got monthly articles just to, go to things in a little bit more depth. And I also produce a monthly newsletter which goes out by email and LinkedIn. Now, if you want to avail yourself of this information, easy. Just go onto my QR code and you can get in contact with me via my contact page. And over here, I have all my online platforms with the appropriate link to get in touch with me. So you can follow, subscribe, or notify me. And you can subscribe to my newsletter here on LinkedIn or down here on email, online. A couple of other little things. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're based. All slides and video recordings, there'll be a link and emailed to all registered guests. Anything else you want to add, just add it to the chat. And please add any feedback or reviews in the chat or online. Now, here's the magic book. This is not just a staid public speaking book of do's and don'ts. This has been written specifically to take you from I can't to I can. It's got my story in it from when I couldn't do it and I now can. I'm not perfect, but I know that I can be interesting, and that's the secret. And it's got stories and stories and stories of other people just like you. So get your hands on this if you are really serious about casting off your fears and getting up before people and speaking with confidence, and they'll know it. So, the common stumbling blocks holding us back. Here's what we're going to look at today. What about the nerves? That's what people say. They crop up over and over and over again. The fear of a large audience. Everyone is staring at me. What do I do with my hands? And what if I go red? And if anything else crops up, we'll deal with that too. So let's look at the first one. Now, here we have a guy who's really in a bad way. And if you can relate to that, I certainly can. When I first started off, I was just like him. Look, he's got no idea where he's going. He's got no idea why he's there. He's looking at that bit of paper as if it's the first time he's seen it. It's just failure waiting to happen. Now, here's what he should have done. He should have got himself right first. That is, believe in himself so that he can step forward knowing that he's earned the right to be there. Where will he find that? He'll find it on YouTube on my first webinar. And if you're just starting off, go back. It's only 30 short minutes, and you'll be able to know that you've earned the right to be there. You're not a fake. You're not a fraud. Second, he's got no plan. He's looking at that bit of paper and thinking, what the hell's this about? You can't get up before an audience if you haven't got a plan of where you're going to take them, like I've done for these webinars. I know where I'm going to take you. And I've written it out and I've rehearsed it, and not word for word, but just those key ideas. So it's a decided path. He hasn't got that. In webinar 2, you get that 4 simple steps. Make sure you go back and look at that too. And third, you've got to be comfortable in your own skin. You've got to, the way you talk, the way I talk is me. The way you talk is you. He doesn't believe that. And then what do? Then we've got to step forward and speak. Now, I was talking to a guy not long back, and he said, look, I'd say I'm a very experienced speaker. He said, but those first 2 minutes, they are the hard part. I get through them and I'm all right. And he said, this has happened to me for years. And I said, I'll solve that problem for you in the next 2 minutes. He said, tell me about it. So I did. And here's what you do. You're going to walk out. Now, look, we're human beings. We've got a nervous system, right? You'll hear the story of the Olympic athletes that are in the starting blocks, heart pumping, nervous as hell. But when that gun goes their way, and it's the same thing. But we've got to get you through that first 2 minutes as if that gun's going off. So you walk out there, your heart's pumping, you're nervous. It's normal. They're all sitting comfortable in their chair thinking, oh, yeah, that was an interesting introduction. Let's see if he can live up to it. They're comfy. So what we've got to do is put the pressure immediately out off you and onto them. So when I talk about public speaking, I say to the audience, let me ask you a question. Has anyone here ever felt the slightest bit apprehensive when you've had to speak before a group? And suddenly, where's the pressure now? Yeah, it's on them 100%, because we're a bit scared. I might single one of them out. And then I say, can I see your hands? And then, as if by magic, as if I've got a silken thread, they can't resist. And half the audience put their hand up, only halfway up. But I've now got them physically involved in the first minute in my talk, pressure off me, pressure on them. But then I've got to release them of that pressure. So I say, I'm glad I'm not the only one. So today what we're going to look at is how to get rid of those common stumbling blocks that hold us back. And that's what I want you to do. And that's what this fellow is going to do from now on. So, not a very good image at all. So, where's my technical help? There we are. So we're going to go up there and so it's all good ideas. All good ideas. So, number 2, the fear of a large audience. Now let's look at this audience. Let's look at this audience. A room full of normal people. But you know what? We've been conditioned to think that any large audience, and that's large, there'd probably be a couple hundred people there. They're an unruly mob hell-bent on humiliating us and make us feel bad. Now, how ridiculous is that? You've all been part of an audience. You find yourself sitting down. Look at them. Let's just have a look at these people. You can see they've all just rushed away from work or farmed the kids out or gone along because they've been asked to by their boss, but they're all eager to learn something new. They want to know that their precious time's not going to be wasted and you're going to deliver. That's their point of view, but not yours. You're up there and you can just see there's sea of faces and you're terrified or you're very scared. So you've got to change your perception from they're really just a group of people. If I was sitting in that chair, you'd say, I wouldn't see myself as part of a mob. I'd just be a person sitting on a chair hoping something interesting going to happen. So what do? You do what I just said with that guy with the bit of paper, scared. You put the pressure on them. Has anyone here ever been told to do something and then you thought, yep, got it clearly, and then be told later that it was the exact opposite that you were asked to do? And yet you didn't hear that in your ear. Can I see your hands? Yeah, that little magic thread will just pull them up a bit. So you got the pressure on them. You say, well, today we're going to look at communication so you get it right the first time. Always do that in your talks. The other little thing, because we're going to change this group here to be a group of people that are literally communicating with you in a two-way way, as if you're having a conversation with them. So with every single point you make in your presentation from now on, I want you to put in a little feeler question. A little feeler question. Like, can anyone relate to that? I see a few. I can see a few smiles there. A few of you have been there before, just like me. Yeah, so it's a little technical hitch here, but that's going on in the background. That's fine. So you've got to do that. You've got to just ask a few questions. You've got to ask a few questions. Not a lot, but just to touch base with every point you make. And it has them feel like that you are, you're talking to them personally. And the other thing is you've got to get them to eavesdrop on your talk. How do you do that? You've got to give them something to eavesdrop on. You've got to have some dialogue and some talking. A lady said to me not long back in one of my workshops, she said, look, this all sounds good, but I'm in my mid-40s. I think I've missed the boat a bit. Yeah, it's too ingrained. And I said, well, look, I'm in the business of helping people shift their thinking so that they can see things anew. And if you can see things anew, you're not going to be as frightened as you were before, because that was the wrong mindset. I said, just hang in there with us till the end of the workshop, and let's see how you're going. And she did. And I did shift the thinking. And you know what she said? She said, I think I'll be all right. I think I can handle this. Now, she wouldn't have dreamed of saying that in a million years. So what I just did with you is what I do with my audience. I let them eavesdrop on what I'm saying. Make sure you give your listeners something to eavesdrop on at least one of your examples. Have people talking. And so then you can use that as a running theme. Okay. So that's all very, very, very important. Now, here we've got another group of people. These people are in a workshop rather than like this one here, where they're all just sitting there listening. These ones are more intent. They've got their books. They're writing things down. This guy's got a smile on his face. He likes what he's hearing. These three folk here are looking intently. Now, that is just a good thing, but a different type of audience. I have people tell me, but they all just stare at me with their beady eyes. Now, they haven't got beady eyes. They've got normal eyes. You've been part of an audience. You don't obtain beady eyes. So all these misnomers, this faulty conditioning that we pick up along the way, that's a lot of the causes of these stumbling blocks. So they're just looking at you. That's all they're doing. So you make sure that they connect with you. And another thing that's really important is that the people say, how long do I look at them for? Well, as long as it's comfortable, just like everyday conversation. You catch someone's eye and you say something, then you can just think back and, get another thought, look at them again. That's all you do. And in the first two rows, you'll pick up someone's eye, and like magic, it spreads out to those 200 people. It's really wonderful how it happens. So don't be afraid of looking at people and letting them look back at you. All simple stuff when you know how. So now we move on to our next point, which is what do I do with my hands? Now, this poor guy, he's like the first guy we seen. He's got his fists clenched. He's not going to go anywhere either. He doesn't believe in himself. He could have a good dose of the first three webinars. Get you right first, have a bit of a plan, comfortable in your own skin. He's not, and that's what's happening. Let me tell you about Tom. Now, Tom was in one of my workshops, and remember, I've been a coach for nearly 40 years, and he said to me, look, it was for the lunch break, so he sidled up to me. So we had about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. He said, I've got to give a talk to a group of oil magnates, and it was a lot hinging on this, a contract. He said, what do I do with my hands? Now, if it wasn't so serious, it would be funny. But it was serious to this guy. He was in his late 40s, and he'd lived with that all his life. And I solved his problem in the next 2 minutes. Here's what I said. I said, Tom, if I said you've got to keep your hands by your sides and go about your day and not lift them up because they're distracting, as people keep telling us, if you wave them around, do you think you'd be effective? No. He said, that'd be silly. I said, yeah, you're right. I want you to do exactly what you do in everyday conversation and mirror the chemistry of the moment. Look at my hands. They're all over the place. And if I give you a little thoughtful thing, I put my hands on my chin like that. I don't think about it, and it just happens. I got an email from him about six weeks later. He said 2 things. I got the contract, and I haven't given my hands a thought since. Amazing. That was more or just as important to him as the contract. He'd lived with that for years because other people had been telling him, keep your hands by your side because they're distracting whenever you speak before. And that looks silly, let's face it. So, all good stuff, tried and proven, give it a go, and it works. So we move on to our next here. What do I go red? Now, look, we've all gone red, haven't we? Yeah, there's no one here. Haven't said something and you feel a bit embarrassed, you go red. Now, look at that beetroot. That's why we got the saying, red as a beetroot. Well, one lady once said in one of my workshops, I'd know that she was a nurse that dealt with stress in the unborn child. And she stepped forward in this little workshop, and the first thing she said was, I guess you all noticed that I've gone red. To be quite honest, we hadn't until we were invited to do so. We all craned forward and we thought, you're right, you are going red. And then it sort of got out of hand, and she somehow stumbled through, and we didn't really understand what she was saying, and she sat down feeling pretty bad. Later on that day, out of earshot of anyone else, I said, I think I know what the problem is. I said, you've been telling yourself you go red. Your mum and dad have been in on it. Your friends at school have been in on it. The teachers have been in on it. And you're saying, oh, there I am. I go so red. Yeah, we know that. And it's just been reinforced and reinforced and reinforced until you do it. So it's a fact. And that was the most important thing that came out of your mind. I said, you're going to get up now. I know the work you do. Can you remember of an incident where an emergency was wheeled into the birthing theatre and you guys had to snap into action? She said, yeah, a couple of days ago. I said, I want you to tell that. And I do not want you to say a word about you going red. And then from now on in your life, I don't want you to mention it to yourself, and just stop making it a self-fulfilling prophecy. I introduced her, and she stepped forward, and she said something like this. She said, 2 weeks ago, a young mother was wheeled into the birthing theatre, and we knew this was a problem. The husband didn't want her to have a cesarean. And for 4 hours, he said no. And in the end, the surgeon came in and said, if we don't operate within 2 minutes, your baby will die because the birth canal is not big enough to accommodate that baby's head. It's already swollen. And you could lose your wife. Of course, he signed. And that little baby is now 33 years old. I said that at audience. Which one of those two talks are you going to remember for years? Did anyone notice, I'll call her Mary, Mary going red? No. So we all go red. Big deal. Have a bit of a laugh. It's fleeting. And then move on, even if it happens in the middle of a talk, when you do something silly like I've done many times. Okay. Let's move on to our next one. Very good. So if you've got any other stumbling blocks you want to share, just pop them in the chat. You'll notice that whenever I tell a little story, I've got 4 little steps of a formula. Give it a little heading. Anyone ever gone as red as a beetroot? Make that your very important universal question at the start. Has anyone ever said something you sort of realised it was the wrong thing and you've gone red? Yeah. Not hard to do, but it's always just fleeting and we just move on. Then relive the happening from memory, but make it eavesdropping. Put dialogue in there, like I did with that last story I just told about the surgeon talking to the guy. Look, if we don't operate now, you can possibly lose both your baby and your wife. Let them eavesdrop and make your point, which I did at the end. Next month's first Thursday in the month is when we have our seminars, our magic panic-free seminars. I want you to get your copy of this book if you haven't got it yet. It's important. Page 103 to 119 on how to give presentations that sell, because the first thing we've got to sell is ourselves, then our ideas, and products and services come later. They won't buy them unless they buy you first. I sell goodwill and panic-free strategies that really work. Page 103 to 119. So there we are. Next month's on the 7th of November, presentations that sell, and more information up here on the webinar about my webinars. So a big thank you for giving up your precious time. I put a lot into these webinars. Apart from half a lifetime, learning them the hard way and then watching other people's lives change by my simple but tried and proven strategies. If you found something that works for you, it's been of benefit, of value, I'd love a little review. Don't freak out. I don't mean a page. I mean 3 simple sentences. How were things then? That is how you used to be prior to meeting the magic of Laurie Smale. What happened when you put something into practice? And what this means to you. So how are things then? How are things now? What it means to you. I'd really appreciate that. So, as we're heading into that last furlong, let's just have a look in the chat. Okay, well, I've got, that means I don't see anything in there. That means I've got you thinking. I've got you thinking. But I'm going to give you one little tip. What happens, people say to me sometimes, if I go blank? Well, I'm going to show you the old glass of water beside the notes trick. Now, it's perfectly normal for a speaker to go and seek out his glass of water. Got a bit fuzzy there, but yeah. And what do? Where is it? If you just lose your way because someone says something funny or calls out or asks a question or a waiter falls over, well, just, it's no good going on talking, just let it sort itself out. Then walk over to your glass of water, pick it up, and have a little sip. It looks perfectly normal, whether you need it or not. And guess what? Beside the water is that little page of notes. And you see there in big print going red. So you come back and you say, one thing that crops up time and time again is, what do I do if I go red? And away I go. So don't worry. If you lose your train of thought, head for your glass of water, but have that little list of life buoys in big print right there. So we're heading towards that finish line. I want to leave you with these thoughts. Our next webinar is about how to prepare and deliver an exciting presentation that sells. Selling you, your ideas. I look forward to meeting you again and making a real difference to you, your confidence, and your speaking effectiveness. Until then, and we'll see you then. Bye.